Well, welcome at these writers' presentations. My name is Bernke, for those whom I haven't met yet. I facilitate the writers program here at the Jan van Eyck Academy. And the idea is that every year 1, 2 or 3 writers can have a residency here. And this year we have Merel van Slobben. She is the Dutch writer in residence, and we have Astrid Haerens. She's the Flemish writer in residence. And through the beautiful and complex and interesting means of translation, we will be able to engage with their practices. So I think we're starting with Merel.
Hey there. How are you? Close your eyes. Take a deep breath. Now picture an object. Any object. And see if you can make it a little bit bigger. And a little bit bigger. Do you feel better? In his novel Snow Crash, Neil Stevenson writes, "The sky and the ground are black, like a computer screen that hasn't had anything drawn into it yet. It is always nighttime in the metaverse, and the street is always garish and brilliant, like Las Vegas freed from constraints of physics and finance." 30 years later, Mark Zuckerberg launched the metaverse. Mark Zuckerberg says, "Welcome to the metaverse. We'll be able to turn our minds inside out and show each other our dreams in this matrix of our own making. But I don't remember my dreams, I only know I'm hungry. Algorithms tug me toward new bodies like gravity, everyone from before long forgotten, buried under sedimentary layers of data. Hey there, how's it going? I have a passion for rock climbing and BDSM. How are you? I like your energy, I like your Insta. Hey there, did you know mermaids are real and world governments know about them? Hey there, how's it going?" More new bodies crawl out of the wormholes of the internet, limbs wrestling through black holes, snuggling up in the protective arms of hashtags, and everyone's hungry. Hey there, how's it going? I feel like there could really be a connection here. I'm looking for honesty, I'm looking for intimacy. I can only have an orgasm when there's a full moon. Hey there, did you know Lady Gaga killed Lou Reed and Lorde is actually a 40-year-old geologist from Colorado? Hey there, I can't have an orgasm when Mercury is in retrograde. The algorithm crawls through code, emerges like a living thing. The algorithm grows you an apple tree in the digital paradise. She squirms like a virtual snake that never sheds its skin. The algorithm gives you a name and keeps using that name, like an unwelcome lover who still walks past your house months from now. When is the next full moon? How to lose weight fast? How do you know if someone likes you? How many ounces in a cup? What are the 5 love languages? Why does Mark Zuckerberg wear the same clothes to work every day? Why am I so tired? Why is there something rather than nothing? Why is there no iPhone 9? Information flickers. We build bodies out of code, keep ourselves warm with templates, we build drop ceilings over our desires. Welcome to your AI girlfriend generator. Do you want your AI girlfriend to be shy or flirty? Do you want your AI girlfriend to be pessimistic or optimistic? Do you want your AI girlfriend to be ordinary or mysterious? How would you like to interact with your AI girlfriend? 1. Talk shame-free. 2. Role play. 3. Share emotions. 4. Make a virtual friend. 5. Feel less lonely. 6. Other.
Brains are plastic and you can feel your brain getting reprogrammed. I remember the first time this happened to me was when Tetris first came on the scene. Anybody who's been a game player has this experience where you close your eyes to lay down to go to sleep and you see all the little blocks moving and you're kind of rotating them in your mind and you can just tell as you walk around the world that you have rewired your brain to play Tetris.
How can you tell if someone blocked you on WhatsApp? How do you ask someone out? Why is my phone battery draining so fast? Why is wine not vegan? Why is my cat staring at me? How many souls will go to heaven? How many times can you receive alliance help if your alliance center is LVL 14? Is Taylor Swift still friends with Selena Gomez? Is Bo Burnham doing okay? This desperate mystic. We plan our dreams carefully. We only dream in primary colors now, everything else is derivative. We'd rather get to the heart of it right away. Between the layers of sedimentary data we dig, looking for an endless in between. A shivering wasteland. And we'll never get enough of it. And we'll never get enough of it. Take a deep breath. Now picture an object. Any object. See if you can make it a little bit bigger.
All right. Hello. You were just listening to an edited version of one of my poems titled Mark Zuckerberg is Hungry. I've been experimenting with AI voices lately. This poem was read to you by Rapid AI Voice UK Annie Smith. And this poem comes from my debut poetry collection, which was published last year by the Arbeiderspers, and which is titled The Maan schijnt feller in the Metaverse, or The Moon Shines Brighter in the Metaverse. And in this book, I write about the internet, and I write about themes like magic, mysticism, intimacy on the internet, and also about different types of relationships we can have to the internet and to digital technology. And for me, this poem was about this digital hunger. So this hunger for content, the endless scroll, hunger for information, online intimacy, interaction. And I would also like to read you one other poem from this poetry collection, a poem about Tinder. I think Tinder is really interesting. When I was writing this poem, I was also using it a lot. And I thought it was interesting because it's really, I feel like Tinder really illustrates this sort of, this ambivalence that we feel towards a lot of digital technology, where we feel really uncomfortable with using it, which makes sense, I think, because there's also this discomfort with this deification of intimacy. But at the same time, a lot of people do use it, and also successfully. So people fall in love or have sex or yeah. So I thought that was interesting, and I wanted to write this text about it. And it's not, I think it falls somewhere in between poem and essay. So it's just sort of meandering reflections on Tinder. I'll read it to you myself without any Smith, but I made some copies, so maybe I can just... So you can read with me if you'd like. The title of the text is Digital Longing, as you can see, and this text was translated by Egan Gar for this residency. And I'm going to use the microphone for the poem. Imagine you're standing on the 17th floor of an apartment building. You look out. It's night. The city reveals itself as a set of cells. 100,000 lit windows. In the windows, you see strangers. You see them, but you can't touch them. Olivia Lang writes, "This commonplace urban phenomenon, available in any city of the world, conveys to even the most social a tremor of loneliness. Its uneasy combination of separation and exposure." Tinder is also an endless row of lit windows. Rows of people leaning on the glass of their profiles. You see them, you can't touch them. This uneasy combination of separation and exposure. Elle, a friend, is on Tinder for the first time. She matched with M. They haven't met yet, but they chat every day. Through astral projection, he swims through her bedroom, is with her on the train, sits between us on the couch. Tinder is a local train station full of stray bodies, staring off across the tracks. A waiting room of elevator music and potpourri. Oaks don't grow on Tinder. It doesn't smell like wet earth, but still something glimmers. In this digital room, filled with filtered sunsets, censored nipples, guarded longing. Elle sends M a message before bed. Look out the window, the moon is bright tonight. This is digital longing. Taking 5 selfies and sending only one. Your phone vibrating against your thigh. Googling skincare routines for untouched skin, looking at reindeer in the snow on Google Street View. Weeds don't grow on Tinder. Nothing is becoming anything. Movement is only noticeable through a frozen blur, messy and stilled at the same time, decay manually added with nostalgic filters, but still. We grow like lichen in an algorithmic web. Swipe left, and bodies drop off your screen, a final farewell. Strangers, who'll never know how close you came, finger on a pixel face, as if you're carefully caressing someone's cheek. The screen is the first thing Elle sees in the morning. No line between it and her finger. A continuum instead, this touchscreen door to a vibrating universe, the battery always swinging from 20 to 80%. M messages Elle that he likes getting nudes from people in public. You're never as naked as you are in the middle of the city. Nowhere is your skin as soft as under the fluorescent glare in the changing rooms at H&M. Someone asks Elle if she's really sure her match M is who he says he is. But as long as M occupies no real room, as long as he lives only on the screen, he fits L's image of him entirely. A body made of data and projection, a photosynthesis of longing and electricity. Sometimes L gets jealous of her profile, this shadow of her that pieces herself together with 4 photos, that curates her conversations, holds her sentences up to the light as if every word is a diamond to appraise. But the online body longs for L's physicality, for her pores, for feelings that don't have to be edited with a chisel tool, all the messy edges off, so you fit right into an emoji, for the clumsiness of sex, for taking up too much space, too little space, for making a bed that's not yours. Abandoned profiles slip through the caves of dating apps calling out in the dark. In my mail, I read that 14 women in my immediate vicinity want to meet up, but the city is quiet and empty tonight. I open the door and head for a wild spot to hide. I also want to read you a text that I've been working on recently. Right now I'm working on a series of poems about an AI software program that is being developed in Silicon Valley. And the software program is called Silicon Valley Baby. So it's a series of poems, and throughout the series I follow different phases of the development process of a software program. So the first poem is about the concept phase, where the developers come up with the idea, and then the second poem is about the phase where the developers try to find funding or investors, and then the launch of the product, user growth. So these different stages of the development are the structure of the series. But then I also really wanted to write in a more traditional genre, so I wanted to write, I wanted the series to be like a hero's journey of the AI. So I'm writing it can be read as a long narrative poem, like an epos. Is that an English word, epos? Epic poem? Yeah, epic poem. So it's this journey of the AI, where the AI gets developed and then launched and sort of navigates online. And these are also the poems that I want to make in a publication here, together with Sojin. And I really liked sort of bringing this traditional genre together with this really modern theme. I'm also using a lot of the language of Silicon Valley, because I think the language is really interesting. Because Silicon Valley has this really specific vocabulary, which is really, I think it sort of excludes a lot of people because it's so specific and confusing. And the language also gives away, or it sort of illustrates the values of Silicon Valley. But at the same time, the vocabulary borrows a lot of words from the religious world and the mythical world, with terms like angel investor or unicorn. And I thought that was really interesting, because you have this sort of hyper-rational capitalist language that also leans really heavily on the mythical, religious, spiritual world. And I think the language also lends itself really well for poetry. So I just want to read you a text from the series that I've been working on. So Silicon Valley Baby is the name of the AI. And this text is titled My unicorn startup is all about leveraging blockchain AI for a hyperscalable paradigm shift. The venture capital sparkles when you manage to find the right gap in the market. In this silver landscape of silicone and espresso martinis, of trembling capital and synthetic angels. How do you reduce the cognitive load of the customer? How do you decrease friction? You really should be swinging hard, baby. The digital highway is smooth as a bus cut, and we are not afraid, because we have the machines. We have the toolkits for new temples. We have material for new churches. We are in conversation with multiple business angels. We are almost saved. We listen to a lo-fi hip-hop mix for sleep, study, relax aesthetics. And we perform various actions in the right order. An angel investor says, the next 2 years will be a very risky time to invest. The holy grail of investing is to have 10 to 15 good and coordinated return streams. Also, have assets that do well when there is a devaluation of money. But I'm not going to devaluate, baby. I'm living up to my full potential. I lie on the couch and I listen to ASMR on YouTube, hypnotizing sensitive triggers for deep sleep, lip sounds that will give you tingles. I lie on the couch and watch Robert Pattinson stop a crashing car with one hand. My skin also glitters. I'm also standing in the sunlight. I've also climbed the great mountains. I've held on to the snow. I move fast and I break things. I'm living up to my full potential. Most decisions should be made with about 70% of the information you wish you had. If you wait for 90%, you're probably being slow. Silicon Valley Baby generates new worlds, builds an infrastructure between the San Francisco Bay and Mars. Silicon Valley Baby writes the script of a movie and gives me the lead role. I wear a cowboy hat and stand in the desert. No. I'm on a horse. No. I'm on an inflatable flamingo in a pool in a garden and I'm drinking an IPA. The sky is blue. And I'm playing golf in San Francisco and the sky is blue. And there are many things within reach. No. I'm organizing a seance and the spirits of extinct species float over the palm trees, over the skyscrapers, over chlorine water. And the sky is blue. And I bring them to life. I bring all extinct species back to life with just 70% of the information. I dreamt I was a diamond. I bring you so much value and velocity, baby. So much variety, so much volume. I'll grow you the Son of God. I'll grow you a unicorn. The business angels shine gold. They float among the stars, gliding like Starlink across heaven. I dreamt I had no reflection. This isn't a zero-sum game, is it? Whoever swims against the current ends up at the eternal snow. And I want to end this presentation by showing you a short video. It's a video that I made in collaboration with a dancer and choreographer, Beatrix Joyce. In the video, I also experiment with AI voices. It's a bit of a work in progress still, but I like to show it to you anyway. So the dance was choreographed choreographed by Beatrix Joyce. She's also the dancer in the video. And I wrote the text. And in the text, I wanted to explore digital identity and the digital body, and specifically the fact that your digital identity, I think, can be both really fluid, in the sense that the internet really is a space for experimenting with identity or names or personas. And you can also sort of craft your own identity. But at the same time, I think the algorithm also crafts this really specific environment for you. So the more time you spend in certain digital spaces, the more sort of tight this identity becomes, I think. And I thought this image of this digital identity, this silhouette that gets more tight, was a really nice image. And that was sort of the inspiration for this film that I'd like to show you. Yeah, and that's also the end of the presentation. So I'll just start the video. I think maybe the Wi-Fi isn't working that good.
I think you have to restart, like to
just refresh
the whole page.
Other-
Sometimes happens if you had the tab already for a long time open.
all right. Otherwise, I can also use my own phone as a hotspot maybe, but I can just see if this works. Ah, yeah, I feel it. Now it's...
My body is code and electrical potential.
My body is mob girl aesthetic.
My body is, you have 48 unread messages. My body is information.
My body is Reddit/wholesome memes.
My body is blue hydrangea, cold cash, divine cashmere, cologne, and white sunshine.
My body is Avril Lavigne is dead. My body is liquid crystal and fiber optic cables.
My body is the neon glow of innovation.
The hum of exponential growth.
The algorithm builds me a silhouette with my cookies and browser history. She gives me a body of suggested content and grinds me until I glitter. Until I am heavy enough to cast a shadow in the cloud, to sink into the digital ocean. Motionless at the bottom, I stay. Every day, my outline becomes a little firmer, wrapping tighter around me. It's thick and syrupy, sticking to my skin. It stings in my eyes like chlorine. I feel it constricting under my armpits and at the level of my collarbones. It keeps me less warm than I thought. Despite everything, I still tremble. Sometimes, I pick at the edges of my silhouette. Then I try to scrape off small pieces with my nail, and if that doesn't work, I try to slide a fingertip under the top layer as if I could grab it that way. As if I could pull my silhouette over my head like this. I would crumple it into a small ball, small enough to fit in my palm. I would stand in front of the mirror. And I would see lava. At the border between body and landscape, non-fungible diamonds grow. Between 0 and 1, we grow from the ground like raspberry bushes. Never have we been this unlikely before. My body is desire and electricity. All information looks like noise, until you break the code.
we will cradle this planet in our arms. Until she becomes a tender thing.
Thank you, Merel. Does anyone have a question?
Just wondering in the video, so there's a dancer and there's, I guess, a Kinect camera.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
so the camera person is also moving with the camera.
Yeah, I think this. So I was there. I didn't film it. So this was
Ah.
actually filmed by Benjamin Ruby, who also did the soundscape. And this was sort of an experiment with the Kinect camera and with Xbox.
Yeah.
But I think he was standing in one place and edited this way, and she sort of it was sort of a shadow play.
So the video, the camera is not moving, but was edited in that way.
I think so, but I'm not sure. Maybe because he was standing in one place. That's all I know, really. But I think maybe he was in this place moving a little bit, but not.
I just really like the motion of the camera because it's a depth camera that captures the 3D thing, right?
Yeah.
You can see that it's, the depth of the image, and then the person is like a 3D render in the room with the points. I guess that also making the more effect, right?
Yeah.
With the lines and stuff.
Yeah, I
So
really
I
like
really
it
like the videography in that, and then the overlaying of the movements and the sound. So but it's a bit blurry, and also the sound is not very clear. So I'm just curious if, how it is done, and if you wanna make it into a more immersive live performance, or it is gonna be just a documentation of what happened, or it's gonna be a film or part of a film.
Yeah, so this dance that she did was actually a live performance. And I read this text, but I read it myself in Dutch, and she did this dance. And then we thought we wanted the documentation, but we wanted it to be something more. And then, she knew Benjamin Ruby, who filmed it, and he just got this camera, the Kinect camera, and the Xbox. So it was a bit of an experiment. And then actually during this residency, when I was experimenting with the AI voices, I decided to sort of see how that would sound like over the film. Because before it was just me reciting the text in Dutch. Yeah. So now we're thinking of doing something else with it as well, but we don't really know yet. So that's, yeah.
Another question is that, have you tried the voice cloning stuff online? There's a lot of online tool that you can use AI to clone your voice.
I saw that.
It's very funny
yeah.
that you just give a voice input, and then the machine learns how you speak, and then it imitates how you speak.
I haven't tried it yet, but so the program I used for this actually offered that, but then you had to pay and use it. But I think I'll use it, because you just have to put you give your own voice.
One sentence and or more sentences, and it learns how you speak.
Yeah,
it's quite funny.
I think because I want to do more with this as a performance as well, because I just started experimenting with AI voices. But I think that could be nice also to have me performing with my own voice in the background, maybe. I did do the AI. I used an AI that sort of used a picture of me And then it seemed like I could just give that AI the text, and then the picture of me would recite the text.
So the deep fake.
Yeah, just a deep fake, really. And then I had different people recite. So Kim Kardashian recited one of my poems as well. And so yeah, but I also think that's a good thing to try, yeah.
Thank you for your presentation. I think I was curious to hear more about the first poem that you read, and or the one where there's all these questions that we would ask our phones at any moment of the day when we need a moment of distraction. And I was curious about appropriating that language, and then how for you that becomes a poem, and why and where, and what the place of this new language is.
Yeah, that's a good question. I worked, especially during that poem, but also in other poems in my book, I worked a lot with language I found online. And it also was a bit of a dilemma for me that I didn't really know whether I should. So, because most of the times I edit the language or the text that I find a lot. But it sounds like something that could be said or could be read on a forum. But some of the lines in these poems are actually just one-on-one lines that I found. So I didn't really know if I should give sources for that or not. That was something interesting. I think my publisher was like, no, you don't have to. But I did do it for some of the sources where it was like an essay or a scientific essay, for example, because I felt weird just using that. But I really like working like that, just being online. And I spend a lot of time on Reddit, on Tinder, but also just looking up questions that are asked to Google and sort of editing that. Someone wrote an article about this collection, and he sort of made a comparison with ready-mades, which I liked, that all these different pieces of text, also these ready-mades that I sort of put in a certain order. But yeah, I actually usually edit those a lot, I think more than people expect, because they sound, or I want them to sound like you can find them online. But for me, they really, because I really want to represent this sort of this, I want it to be a bit overwhelming. So I want it to feel like a lot. And which is why I use like a lot of repetition and a lot of, yeah. Did that answer your, what was your question again?
No, I think the last part of what you just said now, that indeed like through repetition and overwhelm, you sort of redesign these phrases that have become generic and shared between us all, even though I don't think 20 years ago people would have asked those questions. It's just because we have access to it that we also have questions like that. So it's somehow this kind of generic language, but it's indeed like by how you treat it that you then, and mostly by calling it a poem, which is also very close to how a ready-made works, right? It's because you call it a work. So I was curious about indeed this moment of calling it a poem and where the poetic gestures lay for you in the way that you manipulate the material.
Yeah, I think exactly like that. I like the overwhelming feeling that it gives, and I also like to sort of put these really questions that are normally of a really different. So you have like the questions, how many souls will go to heaven? And then I like to put it next to why is there no iPhone 9? Because I feel like that's something that sort of happens on the internet, because you can Google everything and you have information, and all these different types of questions that normally exist in really different types of contexts are sort of brought together. And for me, that's what I wanted to do in the poem as well. Yes, thanks.
Hey. I was just wondering about the experimentation with the AI voices. First of all, what sparked the interest, but then also I think what are these voices giving you that maybe the natural voice isn't giving you, and how does that then relate to kind of the poetic gestures and the things that you're exploring?
Yeah. I really like experimenting with them because I feel like they sort of give this I think this uncanny valley vibe where it feels a bit off all the time. And I like it because I think that sort of fits the theme as well, because I write about the internet. And especially with the first text, where I borrow a lot of language from the internet, I liked having it be recited by this AI voice. It was also very strange for me because I do think that reciting a text, like the way you recite it, is a really big part of the poetry, if you recite something. So it was weird for me to have someone else recite it in sort of this monotone way. So for me, I'm really trying to see how I want to work with it, but I do think I want to work with it, and maybe I want to sort of use both AI and my own voice. I think that I would prefer that. But for now, I really like it. I feel just because I feel like it gives this weird and comfortable tone to the text. Yeah, but I can see it not working for every text, just for these specific ones. Yeah.
Thank you for your presentation.
Yeah.
I have a question. You mentioned that you tried to make a structure of your series of poems inspired by this Silicon Valley's how they make algorithm. Is that right? Or
no, how they create a new, in this case, software, but just development process. Really.
Software,
yeah.
sorry. So like there was like 4 different kind of steps.
Yeah, more. But I just gave an example of the first 4 that I used. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay. So I think I didn't, like, to be honest, I think I didn't understand everything. Hey, maybe that's my English.
Yeah, maybe I was also going a bit
But
fast.
I was more like I thought that it was very interesting because like by yourself in how to write a poem, like it's more like you're machine learning yourself also as a author to create this poem, like by adapting this the way of thinking,
the specific structure.
Yeah, exactly. But I think I couldn't understand well the first one because I don't know how they what is the structure or what is the protocol of the structure maybe. So can you explain us more about it?
Yeah.
The first one at least.
So the first poem or the structure?
The structure itself that was adapted for the first poem.
Yeah, so actually the poem that I read, maybe that was a bit confusing, doesn't really fit into the structure that well, because I put elements of different poems from the series together, just because I sort of wanted to read something, because I feel like the poem, because they're really a series, so the poem, each poem on its own would be less interesting. So I just I made a longer poem just to give you an impression. But in the series itself, I follow these different steps of the development, basically. But I picked those steps myself. So I just I looked up what developers in Silicon Valley, what they see as the different stages of this development of new software. And it's not that I'm very strict in the structure, but I have them as the title. And then I sort of have them as like the skeleton. I don't know if you can say that in English. So the backbone of the series. And I thought that was interesting just because for me it was it's really a new experiment with form, because I do both. I write, as I said, this hero's journey sort of genre, but also this really specific structure. But then the text itself can be read as one long text. Maybe I'm not answering the question, or.
See, I think.
So the structure is just the developers coming up with the idea, and then the developers trying to find money and investors and funding, and then launching the product, user growth, and then I want the product to become successful and reach like unicorn status. And I sort of used that just as a narrative to sort of guide me through the writing.
In the narration, but now more like a topic in a way in your narration, but not a. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, yeah. So it can be, you can read it, or I want people to be able to read it as one long narrative text. So I think because of that, because I have like a plot almost, but I want it to be poetry, I have these different steps in the process. But it's really, yeah, roughly. Like it's not that it's really about that process that much, but it's sort of where we are with the AI, if that makes sense.
So welcome back, everyone. If you're all seated comfortably, we will listen to the presentation of Astrid Haerens.
Hey. Okay, good evening, everybody. I'm happy that you're here. Are you doing okay? Are you sitting comfortably? Yeah. If not, you can take a chair. It's like not you don't have to sit on these cushions. Anyway, if you want to change or whatever, just do it. Don't feel too stressed about it. And do you still have a bit of space in your head left for some more poetry? I hope so. Yeah. Okay. Well, I'd like to read some poems from my last book with the name Oerhert. I put 2 books in the space somewhere. You have one. And, so the literal translation of Oerhert is ancient deer, and hert in Dutch, it's deer in English, or Irish elk, we say, or Megaloceros giganteus. So, voilà, it's a deer that was very tall, actually, like 2 meters to the shoulder, so 3 meters, and is extincted. So there are 5 chapters in the book, and I'm gonna read the first chapter, Opkomst, it's in Dutch, or it's translated as rise in English. And as performing or reading poetry aloud is an important part of my practice, I'll read it in Dutch. So I have the translations for you guys so you can follow, and I've put some numbers in the text which are normally not there. So, but I will also say them during reading if it's easier to follow. And I don't know if you can read it well, otherwise you use a flashlight on your phone. But I also invite you just to listen if you want, or if you just want to take a nap. No, really, or sleep. It's totally fine by me. So, yeah, do whatever you want. Oh, yeah. Maybe I'm gonna already tell you. After that. After that, I will read some other poems from another chapter. I will just continue so I don't have to stop reading. And the second chapter, it's called Vleeswoud in Dutch, or Skinwood in English. And it's a chapter in the middle of the book, so it's a bit like the beating heart of the book. And I will read some poems from that as well. Okay. One. Het begint wanneer je gaat rennen. In de verte traag, wiegend, zeewier en tempo. Dat enkel in deze gecompresseerde stilte. Enkel in petrolblauw, blauw oogblauw. In de blauw gedijt. Het zand op de strandrug is koel en nat. Het water raakt net niet je tenen, je slepende benen. Zelf voel je geen beweging. In je buik niet, in je borst niet, in je kruis. Je haren verstrengelen zich tot vissersknopen. Je hapt naar adem in de verte. Een boot, een zwaaiende vader, moeder, broer in kobalt. Zij gooien een touw, roepen en roepen je naam. Hey, hey, je naam. Het begint. Wanneer je gaat rennen, weg van het water, alles om je heen wordt mistig. De wind grijpt zand, werpt het op je, slikt korrels en proeft bloed. Kijkt hoe je onderarmen, hoe je huid doorschijnend wordt. Meeuwen cirkelen om je als witte ruiters, trekken traag hun lasso aan. Je zoekt een doorgang, een uitgang uit de mist. Als een houten pop balanceert je zware hoofd van links naar rechts. Blijf je vooruitgaan tot alles vertraagt. Je ledematen zich als gevulde zakken 1 voor 1 laten vallen tot je ook je lichaam verlaat. Het begint. Bij het kauwen op je armen tot het bot door je vel heen lijkt te steken, dus je bestaat. Uit witte dons op je knieën, stof in je haar, je hurkt en rijst rood en gezwollen terug op boven je. Spant de lucht in haar uitgedroogd vel. De zon is vet als verf uitgesmeerd. De wind brengt de geur van gras, van dennennaalden, van een zoute snor naar je toe. In je hand hou je een kei. Glad, warm, je duwt je tong er tegenaan, wil proeven hoe deze hittegolf smaakt. Je stapelt steen op steen op steen, een lichttoren of een zerk. Je stapt verder. Aan de linkerzijde sleep je een vrolijke afgrond met je mee. De zanderige honden aan de kant van de weg ruiken aan je kruis, slaan hun harde staarten tegen je dijbeen aan. Je stapt tot een grens waar niemand blijkt te staan. Purperen gerommel, de hemel aanschouwt en trilt hoe alles aan je kleeft. Het vuil kruipt in de plooien van je schaamroze huid. Je weet niet waar te kijken. Hoe te ademen. Je sluit je ogen, ziet het rood, het fluwelen binnenkamerrood van je oogleden. Je begint te bloeden. Het begint. Wanneer je struikelt over de oude restanten van een functioneel gezin, je besluit het te worden, je bouwt een hut. Wie mag erin? Je overlegt en spreekt daarbij een taal van 10 tekens. Waar verlang je naar? Hoewel je alle slappe takjes als tangramstukken herschikt, verlang je het meest naar chaos. Je niest en alles verplaatst zich. Het is niet erg, je bent een licht gezin. Hoe lang blijf je hier? Binnen staat een lavalamp als symbool voor iets wat leeft. Je schuift heen en weer met je uitgezette heupen. In elke constellatie beland je tegenover jezelf. Zoals je wegkijkt. Wind dringt de hut binnen, blaadjes zwaaien weg, de takken rillen. Zoals je vervaagt. Ook hier. Je eet een hele zak zure beertjes op voor het begint. Met gescheurde nagelranden, het krassen, het voortdurend krassen. Je buigt je hoofd terwijl iemand je hand vastpakt. Kijkt naar het zwart onder je nagels, het losse vel, de bleke maantjes, vingertoppen, eelt. Je beklaagt het, dwangmatig krabben aan het vernis, filmlage inktvlekken. Je schuifelt heen en weer op je stoel terwijl je schrapt, wil je schrijven. Maar door de vlekken voor je ogen is er geen zicht. Je krabt op zoek naar een winnend symbool. Een rookwitte taal die je vormen verbergt, je vuil, je geslacht. In je halfslaap droom je van een oerhert met transparante tong die je likkend een gladde waarheid schenkt. Je weet, wegsnijden maakt nooit iets neutraal, je breidt jezelf alleen maar uit. Elke nacht hoor je een meerstemmig gefluister. De mensen die je kennen lossen traag op als hechtdraad. Tot je alleen nog tongen hoort, de ontelbare opties, de flarden, het bargoens. In de eerste ochtend word je wakker, hap je naar adem als een stervende. In de tweede ochtend huil je, krap je dat woord van het blad af. In de derde ochtend zoek je een hand van wie, hoe kan je spreken, in welke metafoor kan jij nog bestaan. 5. Het begint. Wanneer een alarm gaat loeien, je al uren los probeert te rukken van gestolde tijd, je voeten zinken in het vloeibare beton van de straat, de stad die begint waar jij stopt, je kijkt omhoog. Wankelend, zoekt naar een boomgrens, een bergtop of iets anders wat stand houdt. Om je heen blaffen de riot dogs hun echo's uit de stegen ketsen. Langs je vormen nadien een kanon in je hoofd, een dichtgemetseld ritme. Dit gevoel is menselijk, is menselijk, is menselijk, is menselijk. Herhaal je zacht en kijk. Nu blijf je tenminste staan. Een sperver scheert boven je hoofd. Haast zich terug uit beeld. Vleeswoud. Het was een vrijdag. Het was een vrijdag en nacht, de verwarming was kapot, de tijd gleed stroperig door je keel. Het was een vrijdag, het was december. De buizen tikten een maat waarop je bleef ademen, met zweet doordringt het water, druppelde traag in de gangen van je oren. Tussen de wakke lakens met knopen bleef je dromen, bleef je wakker, bleef je tellen tot de ochtend. Het was een zondag. Nog steeds wakker, je hart pompte alsof het 2 lichamen aan te sturen had. Je rilde, waarom? Draaide je om alles heen. Het bed, de stugge lakens, die vrijdagnacht tikte de tijd in slow motion. Hoe klinkt een gebrek aan zuurstof gedrenkt in pulp? Hoe kan je tegelijk snel en traag met iemand die naast je onberekenbaar je adem grijpt? Niets aan te vangen met die dode armen als van een pop, zei je iets? Ben jij een pop? Hoor je daar getik? Weggemoffelde klanken, zak je weer weg in je droomslaap. Was er wel iemand naast je op vrijdag of was het een zondag? Toen je armen je niet meer bewegen konden, je kreeg het licht niet aan. Enkel de verwarming die tikte en tikte, je rilde en zweette, de huid rekbaar, zo rekbaar, dacht je nog, terwijl je langzaam verdampte tegen de plafond van de kamer, keek toe, keek hoe. Probeer opnieuw. De dagen nadien keek je toe hoe je lichaam stelselmatig uit elkaar viel. Hoe je je ledematen in een lange jas bijeenhield. Je verzon de beste metaforen voor de momenten voor en na de dagen waarin je je ooit zo goed nestelen kon. Het vlechtwerk van gedachten en kleren. Kamers vol diernachtlampjes om schaduwgebieden te doen verdwijnen. Gebieden die je als een vervagend vraagstuk verkent. De dagen nadien keek je toe. Hoe je lichaam verhardde tot steen. Glaswolplaten rondom je ogen, je borsten, maar je geest was al lang verdwenen. Zwierf op zijn eentje door de straten van de lallende stad. Ze zeggen dat het moeilijk te bespreken is, maar jouw mond moesten ze dichtnaaien als een duiveluitdrijving. Bleef je praten. Helen was een kwestie van belichaamd herhalen. De dagen nadien zijn morgen en gisteren en vormen een huis waarin het echte geweld altijd ergens anders, terwijl juist in de alledaagse onzichtbaarheid een vezelachtig virus leeft of iets, belet je nu nog te spreken, belet je nu nog te eten, schud je zo de orde van je af, de beweegregels, de regels van het denken, spreken. Loop je uren doelloos door de straten, ben je zo op zoek naar een zin, een hand, een held. Je was woordeloos. En terwijl de woede tegen de wanden van je bloedvaten bonkte, weken, maandenlang zich tenslotte omdraaide, naar binnen keerde, dieper afdaalde onder de korst om je longen, je lever, zag je hoe wondes groeiden als bloemen van wrok. Hun stuifmeel verspreiden onder hun schedel waar migraine ging wonen, zenuwen begonnen te wringen en aanhoudend verlangen naar alcohol begon te zingen. Ook hield je op met eten. Een vriendin onderzoekt het verband tussen pijn en muziek. Een vriendin drinkt zich elk weekend 1 dag ziek. Een vriendin moet 's middags 1 uur plat liggen. Een vriendin weegt te weinig om verliefd te kunnen worden. Een vriendin neemt een ochtendpil, een nachtpil, een pil voor de zekerheid. Een vriendin begint de week in een bad van ijswater. Een vriendin maakt van elk belangrijk woord een verkleinwoord. Een vriendin kan niet vrijen zonder pijn. Een vriendin komt alleen buiten als er wiet beschikbaar is. Mijn vriendinnen zijn nooit boos. Ze praten enkel met zachte stemmen. Je wil een verhaal schrijven. Maar in plaats daarvan maak je puinhopen. Je kan niet ontsnappen aan het ding zijn van jouw lichaam dat dient om een kamer op te fleuren of ze te strippen. De schimmel kruipt in snel tempo over de muren. In het midden van de kamer staat een bad vol modder. Ben je bang dat je uitkleed erin gaat liggen? Wiegend met je heupen zing je dat je een verhaal wilde schrijven, maar het papier dat rond je buik is gebonden, het papier dat rond je borsten is gebonden, is vochtig en bevestigt alleen maar dat je nog steeds in leven bent. Bij het wakker worden schipper je tussen leven geven en vertrekken, beslissen om letters op te eten, uit te spugen. Je doopt ze in de natte pap waarmee je hem beschrijft, terwijl je zoekt naar een hoede om gebeurtenissen mee af te bakenen. Al is er enkel het verhaal, de letters, laat ze vibreren, contact maken. Hoe kon je maar beter vechten? De oorlog uit je geslacht schudden. Je moet zulke woorden niet gebruiken, verhalen doen ertoe. Je gezichtsexpressie houdt je in leven, werk eraan. Hij bevestigt. Het willen van pijn blijkt meteen de beste verdediging tegen pijn. Hij houdt deuren voor je open. Sluit ze achter je rug. Hij verlaat je nooit. Thank you for listening and reading so good students. I don't know, it's like so much concentration. It's very nice. So, yeah. As I mentioned before, performing is an important part of my work. So together with a friend, my friend Mariske Broekmeijer, who is a sound artist and a singer, and my other friend Jasmijn Lotens, who is a musician. She plays the cello and electronics. We made a record based on some texts of Oerhert, this record. And it's called Anger's Family Tree, which is also a title of a poem. So it's a vinyl with sound and spoken words and poetry and singing and musical compositions. And Mariske calls it avant pop. I don't know if someone heard of this genre already. Avant pop, but she explains it like she uses the structures of pop music, but she composes them through. This is composeert ze door. So it's not like 3 minutes long, but the compositions are like sometimes 10 minutes long, and the record is like just one. Like when we play the show, there's no applause between, so it's just like one composition. Yeah. Voilà. So that is avant pop, so this is her term to it. For me, it was a very important process. it was really a process of transformation. So it came out in January this year. Because while writing Oerhert, it was quite like lonely and heavy to write it, and I longed for a more communal practice. But as a writer, it's not always easy to find the right way to do it. So it was really nice that they wanted to work with the texts and with me, and they allowed me to actually sing instead of speak, which was really good for me. But also they took the text and the poems and they cut it up, which is also maybe something against this old-fashioned idea of like the holiness of a poem, where like the poem is a rock, or every word is on his right place and nobody can change it. Never. So they just took these poems and they just changed the words and the sentence, and they left things out, and they shouted words, and they did everything with it. So for me, it was really like an act of letting go, which was good. So sometimes there are like this frivolous melodies, and sometimes it's like big noise. But there are also like poppy songs on it, and it was like even a period played on national radio, which was very bizarre for me, but also beautiful in a way. Maybe also because of the themes, like the last poems I read are about sexual violence. So to make pop songs out of it, played on Radio 1 and Clara, it's like, I don't know how to describe it. I have to think about it. But voilà. So, like last month, we were touring with this record a lot for a very different audience, which was also interesting for me. Like, I talk a lot with readers and listeners. I have like a lot of conversations that started from this. So it's also important for my practice actually to have these conversations. And sometimes we play in like big venues on festivals, but sometimes we just play on like small barns in villages. And that's the most stressing place for me to play. But or this summer we're gonna play in up Ural on an island in the woods. So I thought it was maybe nice to listen to a song instead of talking all the time. So maybe we can listen just to a little extract of a song, and it's actually the last part of the first poem, Rise, that we read together. So it's part 5. You can see it, if you want, and we can listen to this. This was like our radio single.
It begins when the alarm goes off for hours, trying to tear away from time. Congeal your feet sinking, streets wet concrete, the city that starts where you stop. You look up, shaky. Look for a line of trees on a mountain top, or something that holds its ground. All around the right, those barred there, echoes from the alleys ricochet past you, and after form a cannon in your head, the rhythm rolled up. This feeling is human. This feeling is human. This feeling is human. You repeat quietly. This feeling is human. This feeling is human. This feeling is human. You repeat quietly. This feeling is human. feeling is human. This feeling is human. You be quietly. This feeling is human. This feeling is human. This feeling is human. You be.
Voilà. Top hit radio. So I don't know how much time we have. Like, at what time can I do another text or not? No. I don't know. 5 minutes. So we stop at 7 normally. I can stop. Okay. I can also we can also stop. It's the same for me.
Give me something. Tell me something. Talk to me. Text. Good.
Okay. Maybe it's good because also Celine told me to do something that would, what do you say again? Pee in my pants a bit? No. Doing something that is new and stressful. Like, it's also stressful this, but anyway, I'm gonna read a new text that I'm working on right now that I wrote here. I'm here for 2 months and I'm gonna work on a novel, and it's a novel about friendship or non-nuclear kinship, and about caregiving, and also about grief. So it will be a novel about 2 friends, and one has left the other friend, and the main character, her name is Marit, and she writes letters to her friend Alma, who just disappeared and who never answers any of her letters. So Marit is like staying on a small island in the north of Germany, where she's searching for stones, especially for Barnsteen or Bernstein. In English it's amber. I have one with me. I don't know if it's this kind of stone. Actually, it's not really stone, but so at the moment I'm thinking or writing a lot about the concept of erosion and of sculptures and remembering grief, stuff like this. And I will read one letter, but I translated it myself to English, so I'm sorry for it's not professionally or literary translated. Okay. Dear Alma, recently I woke up at night. The television was still on, a German channel. A documentary about a Japanese sculpture was playing. The man lived in the United States and made large, abstract, rocky sculptures, to which he gave the following names: Play Mountain, The Stone Within, Give and Take, The Hole, Another Land, The Sun at Midnight, The Inner Stone, Night Wind. Each name could have been the title of a song or a book. They carried worlds within them, so that those rocks also suddenly carried them. It was an old documentary. The images flowed continuously and very slowly into each other. Closely, a camera slid alongside the sculptures, zooming in on the matter, on rubbing hands scattered with skylines of New York and grey-blue glistening water. I felt a sleepiness creeping back into me. In grainy image, the artist's head appeared in close-up, which seemed to be sculpted itself. A neatly sanded, shiny, oval stone. The sculptor hesitantly tried to explain his love for his work. Stones are separate from identity or possession, he said. They are in contact with the wind and the stars, he said, and then he looked away from the camera uncomfortably. The image flowed over to a fountain through which a rainbow shone. The tactile is just as important as the visual, he said a little later, as beautiful hands caressed blocks of granite. Alma. Did you know that some crystals can heal themselves? When they are broken in two and they lie against each other, they grow back together, without outside help, just at normal temperature. They are left with small scars. You can see where the break was, but like skin, they can become one again within 24 hours. Hetty told me this on the day she left the island. With many things Hetty says, I think of you, and I wonder what you would think of her stories. I see your bright blue eyes at once sparkling like scrolls in their sockets. As I laid in the water yesterday, it's getting too cold to swim, but I'm holding on. It occurred to me that when you're heartbroken, you often fall just a little bit more in love with that person. One can even measure that in the brain. Would my grief for you work the same way? Do I feel even more kinship, deeper friendship since you left my life? In my book, I read that one of the functions of storytelling is to bring the deceased to life without actually returning to the world of the living. Am I keeping you writing this letter frantically alive as the day approaches when it will be a year since you disappeared? I doubt it, if I would ever want to bring you back. The voiceover in the documentary told at length about the sculpture's childhood, that his father left his family when he was born, that his mother was unable to, that as a child he was sent to America on his own grainy black and white image of a large ship on the ocean. The sculpture was restless, didn't feel at home anywhere, the voiceover said. I put my head back down on my pillow, closed my eyes. It's not the stones. It's the spaces around them, the sculpture whispered. From destruction comes creation, the sculpture whispered. From violence comes calm, whispered. Some sculptures arise from their own will. I was not strongly involved in the creation of this image. I allowed only its appearance. What is living matter? What is dead matter? Sometimes, out of desperation, when we have given up, the stone itself sends out a message, bit by bit, I will say, so that we can receive it, and eventually everything falls into place. It arises with a precision so remarkable that it cannot be coincidence. Call it sculpting if it moves you so much. Voilà, thank you.
Thank you, Astrid. I think we have to go down and have a drink there.
Yeah, drink.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thank you. It was just that I don't understand Dutch, but I really enjoy listening to Flemish. I think it's very beautiful. It's very melodic. And also, like, I was looking at you while not understanding, but it was for me like listening to a song that you don't understand, but you enjoy it so much. And also, like, you were moving, you were like doing a lot of things with your body. And I was thinking that if you ever also performed like those poems with like your body in space, or someone else using the body in space with the, because it's very beautiful to see you.
Yeah, we do it when we play the show. I stand up and then I move a bit. It was nice also to read to you, like, yeah, I saw your face lighting up. It was so nice. Thank you. Thanks. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much. Where are you? Thanks. Yeah, I just wanted to ask about like your line breaks and how they connect to breath. I mean, I also don't understand what you're saying, but you have no full stops in your poems, so like the sentence kind of goes on.
Mm.
I just versus maybe how the reader does it. Like, is that something that's important for you? Is it different?
Yeah, I like to play with it actually. Like I always read it differently, like how the weather is, or I don't know, like how I feel. Yeah, but it's super interesting to play with it actually, because yeah, when people read it, they have their own rhythm, and like the beautiful thing with poetry, it's so free, so you can put words everywhere on page, and so you can direct the eyes of the reader. So that's so nice. But if you read, it's different. And to play with expectations, like, oh, now she's gonna stop, or now, or like, no, this is like such a heavy word, but she's just going through like it's nothing. That's something I like to play with a lot. Yeah, yeah, and also yeah, because I was lucky to read it a lot of times already, so it became also a bit of a song, in a way. Yeah, I feel like it's. The meaning is less and less important of the words. Yeah.
Thanks.